Welcome, Devil Hunters, to a discussion about our favorite bad-mouthed, demon-slaying badass, Dante. To quickly get this out of the way, Devil May Cry 3 is easily my favorite in the series. Devil May Cry 2 almost ended the series entirely. Devil May Cry 3 comes back strong with awesome combat mechanics, entertaining moments, and a compelling story that keeps you interested. Let's jump into the world that is...
Devil May Cry.
Devil May Cry 3 starts as a prequel to the games, with our white-haired protagonist being only 19. He's just starting up his shop when he's confronted by a man who invites him to a giant tower, where actually his brother resides. It turns out that the tower holds the seal to the demon world, and Dante's brother intends to capture the power of Sparta. Dante goes to investigate and is not alone. Met with a woman on a bike, she seems to be the one thing around that's not demonic, looking even more human than our boy Dante. After going through layers of the tower, Dante is reunited with Virgil, though you can instantly feel the tension between the two. Dante is defeated in battle, but at the price of awakening his true power from within. Lady is an awesome addition to the cast, who is a devil hunter in her own right, who hates demons on the fact that her own father sacrificed her mother to obtain demonic power. Thus, her revenge on the demons bore fruit. Her story ends up wrapping up nicely instead of leaving loose ends in this game, and is honestly a pretty satisfying conclusion. Instead of adding a random subplot that is generally distracting from the rest of the experience, you're like, okay, that's pretty cool. She's on a revenge quest, and there's actually a couple times in the game where you wonder if she's even going to accomplish it at all. Her addition to the Devil May Cry roster is an awesome one, and personally, one of my favorite characters.
Welcome back.
I want a diamond ring, I want some bracelets and everything. Daddy, you better get the best for me.
Arkham is a bit mysterious in the beginning, but he actually gets fleshed out pretty well as a character. And I won't get too much into his motivations, seeing as he's an essential plot device, but not a bad one by any means. There's a clown in this game known as Jester, which clearly has demonic power of some sort. He provides a bit of comic relief, like Dante doesn't add plenty.
Well, this is my kind of rain. No wonder the sky looks so funny today.
Let me go!
Let you go? But it would be a waste if you ended up as just a pretty stain.
And it's always hilarious watching him get under Dante's skin throughout the game. He also plays an essential role to the game's story and has an epic twist to him later on. The combat is an unbelievable improvement from the second entry and feels like a true sequel to Devil May Cry in that regard. Dante in this game will get a total of 5 different melee weapons and 5 different ranged weapons, which can really change the playing field. You get dual swords, rocket launchers, an actual guitar. It's pretty neat the variety of combat that's in this game. You go into a mission with a set of 2 weapons and 2 guns to switch from. Pretty impressive for a PlayStation 2 game. Now that's not the only thing that's increased in our Devil Hunter's arsenal. Dante has 4 separate styles he can equip. Trickster is a quick dodge style that allows you to quickly dash out of harm's way, or in later levels, you can even teleport. Swordmaster gives you even more combo potential with your melee weapons. A lot of these attacks like Rising Dragon or Dance Macabre are only accessible through Swordmaster skills. Gunslinger will see you utilize your guns to their fullest potential, doing spins in the air with Ebony and Ivory, ricochet spiral shots from one enemy to the next, and makes gunplay super satisfying in this game. Royal Guard is the hardest style to master, but one with the most payoff. Royal Guard is a parry and block style that will see you deflect attacks coming your way and punishing them extremely. Dante also has 2 extra styles in the game that require progression to unlock, but I can't stress this enough. Go unlock them, and check them out for yourself. You won't regret it. Now there has been a re-release of the game on Nintendo Switch that allows you to style switch mid-fight, along with switching to all 5 weapons and guns in the game. A mechanic that would be first introduced in Devil May Cry 4. From what I gathered, combat was a huge focus on development, according to the producer on the game, Tsuyoshi Tanaka, controlling weapons in stylish ways in a built-in camera system that avoids obstruction during combat scenarios. It initially had a release date of December 2004, but was moved to a later date of February 2005 in Japan and March of the same year for any other regions. So just to let you know, this is about to turn into kind of a Hideki Itsuno segment, but we'll circle back to Devil May Cry in a moment. Hideki Itsuno would find work for Capcom in 1994, who would be a designer for the arcade division, which by 1997 would be changed to Production Studio 1. His first game in the director's chair would be a little game called Star Gladiator, essentially anime beat-em-up Star Wars. I don't have really any history with this game, but it's going to be something I hope to check out in the future. Hideki Itsuno would be asked by higher-ups to work on a little game called Devil May Cry 2.
What? Bro, what are you talking about, man?
With the poor reception and disappointment the team had for the game, Itsuno didn't want his legacy in the series to be left with a bad taste in his mouth, so he would push for Devil May Cry 3 as a leading director, and honestly, I love knowing this tidbit of information. I believe he retained some of Team Devil's developers for the project as well. Hideki Itsuno also worked on some of my other favorite games, like Dragon's Dogma. It was also announced literally yesterday, from the time I'm recording this video, that he would be leaving Capcom altogether after 30 years with the company. Thankfully, he did say something about he would continue to develop games elsewhere, and well, I can't wait to see what he cooks up. I just hope with this news, Devil May Cry isn't going to be shelved or turn into something that leaves left to be desired. I really think they left out strong with Devil May Cry 5, but well, that's a beast that deserves its own video. Thank you for some of my favorite games of all time under the Capcom license, Itsuno. Kazuma Kaneko, the man who had made a lot of the designs for the games like Shin Megami Tensei 3 Nocturne, Zone of the Enders, and the Persona games, would take on the designs for Dante and Virgil's Devil Triggers, which everyone on the team agreed looked really cool and would be possible to animate. In Devil May Cry, they established that Virgil has already died, his corpse being controlled by Mundus. Being Moriyashi wanted an alternate universe and where Virgil would be alive. Instead, Hideki Kamiya gave Moriyashi the freedom to retcon Virgil's backstory for the entry of this game. Though arguably when you beat Devil May Cry 3, it still leads up to the events of Nilo Angelo, just more like a 10-year time span instead of 20, like mentioned in Devil May Cry. Dante, according to sources, was 8 when he lost his mother Ava and was separated from Virgil, so that makes roughly 10 to 11 years prior to the events of Devil May Cry 3, Dante's Awakening. Ruben Langdon, who also provides the voice of Ken in a number of Street Fighter media, would accept the role as Dante, who supposedly critics didn't take crazy to the younger iteration of Dante until the release of the game, which saw a wide positive reaction. I can confidently say, after 3 titles in an anime series with Ruben's iteration as Dante, I could not hear anyone else perform that role. He's canonically Dante, and even did motion capture for the character, which is so sweet. Dan Southworth, the Quantum Ranger from Power Rangers Time Force, would take on the more serious role of Virgil, who absolutely killed it as Virgil. Apparently Dan Southworth had knowledge of samurai history, and it helped a lot in finding the voice for Virgil, who in comparison is nothing like his twin brother Dante. In fact, Devil May Cry 3 was re-released in 2006 as a special edition, allowing players to play as Virgil for the first time. Virgil's combat is fast and dangerous. He has a high damage output and wields 3 weapons you can actively switch to on the fly. His trusty katana Yamato, the fisticuffs Beowulf, and a relic from his family's history, Force Edge. Virgil utilizes summoned swords for ranged combat, which will see you launch at enemies and a variety of abilities you can do with them. Virgil only has one style, which is Darkslayer, which will see Virgil teleporting all over the place. You can use this style to either close in the gap or avoid enemy attacks. Virgil's opposition to Dante really shows, especially in gameplay, where he's a more serious, hard-hitting character versus the free flow that is Dante. If you manage to beat this game on the hardest difficulty with Virgil, you can actually play as Nilo Angelo, which works as corrupted Virgil's double trigger. This is one of the coolest unlockables in a video game and is such a cool nod to the first game. Speaking of bonus content, this game has an awesome variety of costumes to equip for not only Dante, but Virgil too, even showing off a human form of Sparta. Devil May Cry 3 is an action-packed adventure with stylish combat and plenty of boss fights to run into, not to mention your badass samurai sword-wielding brother being among them. The story can actually get pretty heavy and isn't afraid to, dealing with familial drama and losing the ones you love. It touches on these themes pretty regularly and doesn't feel shallow or empty. I'd have to give this game a 9.5. I seriously can't think of anything I hate about this game. I guess if I had to give it a gripe, it'd be the lack of style switching update for any other consoles but the Switch. If you have a PC, there's plenty of style switching mods for the game, but it's crazy to me that there's an official Capcom licensed style switch port of the game and it's not on PlayStation consoles. What are we doing? I hope you guys had fun listening to my little video game ramblings. Until next time, Devil Hunters.